craving for these kind of games. They're back to basics, back to simple basics. Again, I insist on that, but I think well executed because, you can eat a lot of food at a buffet, or you can just go for that 2-course meal that is really going to be small and just the right amount, but this one is going to be memorable.
Speaking to Nicolas Doucet from Team Asobi, the makers of Astrobot, the big new PlayStation release. Nicolas, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me today.
No, thank you for joining us. And so, right now it's Thursday morning here in the UK. You're out in Tokyo, and so in a few hours, the first Astrobot reviews will drop, and then not too long after that, people will finally get their hands on the game. How are you feeling, and how are the team feeling at the moment?
Wow, we're so excited and, nervous as well, but also very excited. So, tonight is going to be, for us it's 9 p.m. onwards. So it's going to be a night of, refreshing the screens, looking at reviews and hopefully having a lot of good tears.
Yes, well, certainly the previews are really positive. So fingers crossed for you there. And there's a lot of affection for Astrobot, and a lot of people will know Astrobot from Astro's Playroom. That's the packing title with the PS5. And yeah, just tell us a little bit about how you went from making Astro's Playroom into turning it into a full-size adventure for Astrobot.
Yeah, sure. So Astro's Playroom, yes, that was back in 2020 when the PS5 came out, and we actually asked to make this pre-install game. It was not something that was requested upon us. We wanted to do this because we had three objectives with this game. The first one was to do a showcase of the DualSense controller, which is a brand, at the time was a brand new controller that had haptic feedback, so meaning that the vibrations in the controller could feel very different from anything that was done before. It was also the 25-year anniversary of PlayStation, so we had this chance to celebrate all the cool consoles that PlayStation had been making over the years and to have them, inside the game. But for us as a team, as Team Asobi, that was the opportunity to prove that to ourselves, that we could make a platformer, a game, outside of VR, because beforehand we were doing, games for VR, in a very competitive space, because there's a lot of really heavyweight in even though platformers is not a very common type of game, the ones that do exist are very, very high quality, from people who've been making them for years and years. So we had to prove to ourselves that we could do this for PlayStation. So we what we heard from the gamers, from the reviewers, and was positive at the launch of PlayStation 5, and so that gave us the boost we needed to really go full on. And after 3.5 years, there we are. We've given Astro its biggest adventure yet, and it's about to release. Yeah.
Awesome. And that theme of kind of celebrating PlayStation's history is something that you've brought in for Astrobot as well. It's a big theme of the game, rescuing the bots, a good number of whom are themed on PlayStation characters people may or may not know, depending on how long they've been playing PlayStation for. Just tell us a little bit about how that'll be for players and kind of what the thinking was behind keeping that element in the game from Playroom.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good question, because even within the team we had a real discussion and debate as to whether we should continue celebrating the PlayStation history, because we wanted Astro to be able to spread its own wings and stand on its own feet, and there was a concern potentially, or that by always playing that kind of tribute to PlayStation, we would actually not let Astro be its own thing, right? So we spent the first year prototyping the game and developing brand new worlds and enemies and abilities for Astro independently of the PlayStation universe. So really, most of the game, in fact, could operate without any of the PlayStation layer on top of it. But then, reviewing all of this, it was really fun and it was great, okay? But then it feels, okay, as a PlayStation player, as a game player, if the previous game was full of tributes and cameos, if this one had none of them, I would feel disappointed. That was really the observation. And so we felt, okay, the important part is to not repeat ourselves.